First of all, listen, it's interesting about all these young guys today. They never call on us and say, hey, thanks for the kind word and telling me how great a player I am. But when they play like crap and we call them out, we don't know what we're talking about. Listen, I'm easy to find, but I get sick of these guys complaining. These young guys, they never call us and say, when a coach is wrong, I'm going to call him out. But when players are wrong, I'm going to call them out. But listen, I'm going to criticize guys that they deserve it. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
What's going on, YouTube? Nathan back with another video presentation. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great week, staying safe. Happy Thursday. Thank God tomorrow's Friday. August is almost upon the end for us. Cannot believe that. A week's just going by like that. If you're enjoying the videos, the content that you're seeing, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate the support that I have been getting on the channel. A few things before we get into the video. So I made an announcement on Let's Talk Football, well, Washington Football Weekly, Sean Spencer's channel, that I will debut season 3 of my podcast, week 1 of the NFL season. So probably by the end of this month, season 2 will come to an end. I cannot believe I've gone 3 seasons into my podcast so far. With football, we're still going to talk about baseball. Wnba is kind of starting to transition, starting to get towards the end of the season because we have 10 games left for the WNBA. The dog days of summer is coming to an end for baseball. Now we're really starting to get down into the month of September. We're getting really close to start playoffs. Basketball is going to pick up in a little bit. I'm gonna try to get some hockey in there. Trying to get some hockey for y'all. And I'm gonna try to do college sports, particularly like college football and college basketball. I'm gonna try to get those in there for y'all. And I'm also gonna try to do social topics a little bit. I'm trying to get the podcast game up and trying to mix it up, trying to get it be better than just talking sports. But those are the announcements. So season 3 will start the week of the NFL season. I can't wait. I'm also going to be part of a live fantasy draft with the Let's Talk Football crew and Mr. Anthony Hardy with the Bullpit podcast. So be on the lookout for that. I might go live with that as well. But that's all the announcements I have. So this is episode 11. Episode 12, I've already scheduled it for this Saturday because the Ravens are going to play against the Panthers, and the Washington football team is going to play against the Cincinnati Bengals. And as of right now, the Washington Mystics, they're halftime, they're up 44-39 against the Phoenix Mercury. So I will cover that in Saturday's video. Baltimore Orioles and the Nationals, I'm going to talk about them a little bit today. The Baltimore Orioles lost their 15th game in a row. They're one of the 5th straight losing season. Nothing really other there. I'll get into that. The Washington Nationals are kind of also in that rebuilding phase since, again, Mack is not there and Trey Turner and, I don't really know where the Nationals are going to go from here. I know where they're going to go. But let's get into it. Before we start video, I want to send my thoughts and prayers to the family of Jim Russ. Jim Russ was on 98 Rock, WBL. I call him growing up Mr. Traffic Man because he always was on it with traffic. He's actually gotten me. I ain't gonna lie. Parts of Maryland, like with traffic, it ain't no joke. When there's an accident or something going on, 98 Rock. He'll let you know, hey, there's an accident here. Take this route, take this road. It was unexpectedly. He was 58. So I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Again, Jim Russ is a great person. And again, like I said, he really kind of I got a couple friends that their stress level when it came to traffic. I said, hey, just tune to 98 Rock, listen to Jim Russ. And they're like, yeah, he calms me before the storm because traffic some days, it ain't no joke, people. It ain't no joke. So I just wanted to send my thoughts and prayers to his family. I wanted to give a quick happy birthday shout out to the great Roberto Clemente. He would have been 85, if I'm doing the math right. He would have been 85 today. Yesterday, excuse me. Arguably one of the best baseball players in the game, the first Latino American to be enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. 15-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, NL MVP, World Series MVP, 12-time Gold Glover, 4-time batting champion, and obviously his numbers was retired. Just a great man. Very humanitarian to help people, especially what happened in Nicaragua in the early 70s. There was a devastating earthquake, and unfortunately, his plane crashed, delivering food and water and other supplies. So, obviously, the Roberto Clemente Award is in his name. MLB The Show is doing something for him. They call the Field of Dreams. They unlock his card. I know for a while they were actually kind of wanted to have his card there. And they actually just recently unveiled a statue. I want to say it's in the Baseball Hall of Fame Museum. It was really nice. You got to check it out. But I just wanted to give him a happy birthday shout out. Again, shout out to his family. My dad told me stories. Roberto Clemente, they played against the Baltimore Orioles, 1971 World Series. Just a fun fact, that was the only time I think we had three 100-win seasons and we lost. He played a part in that. But, just a great man. Also, too, he was in the Marine Corps. From what I'm understanding, I did my research. So just a great man. Rest in peace. Definitely, I think everybody would say that Roberto Clemente, could we could argue he was one of the best baseball players in his day. So, happy belated birthday. Rest in peace, Roberto Clemente. So, I cannot believe I'm really going to talk about Baltimore Orioles. Nationals aren't making me feel better. They played the Blues. They played the Nationals. So, but the Baltimore Orioles, ladies and gentlemen, they lost their 15th straight game, and we clinched our 5th straight losing season. And this is the season where we could be on pace for one of the worst. I'm going to lose my mind because this is disgusting. I said it in the video, we were going to play 22 teams, particularly in the American League, all winning. It was bad enough from May 18th to the 31st. We had lost 14 games. And I did some fact checking here. Since we moved from St. Louis, we became the Baltimore Orioles in 1954. The most games we lost was back in 1988. We lost 21 games straight. Behind that is actually this current record, 15. The Orioles have been outscored, again, did some fact checking, have been outscored by opposition a margin of 138 runs to 42. The starting pitchers are 0-12 with 63 earned runs and 61 two-thirds of an inning. They haven't won a game since the Yankees by the score of 7-1 on August 2nd. We're 1-15 against the Rays this year. And to make matters worse was our 82nd loss. That's a 31%. That's a 31 winning percentage. I called it. The Baltimore Orioles are on pace to lose 115 games. Now I'm going to push it to 120. I honestly don't want to talk about the game because we lost again tonight. Last 2018, we were 47-115. I couldn't defend that. Now we did. Now I had to look at the calendar. I had to compare it to other teams. Yeah, we have the fourth toughest schedule the rest of the season. Oh, and by the way, we have the worst run differential of a -227, and our overall team ERA is a 5.85. So next year, we're most likely going to be the number one overall pick or second overall pick. Is either Baltimore or Arizona. I hate to say this, and I might get some flack for this, but I don't see Brandon Hyde coming back. I think they're going to move on from him. I feel bad for him because the man's had nothing to work with. He's had nothing to work with. I mean, to get swept like that again, and then I already know we're going to lose to Chicago. They're next. No, sorry, not Chicago. Atlanta. We know those are going to be losses. Then we got to play at Anaheim, Tampa again, Toronto, New York, Kansas City, Toronto, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Texas. That might be. I'm praying we win some. We probably get that. Yeah, that's the rest of the schedule. We stink. I don't really know what else I can say. I really don't. I mean, this team can't catch a break. The only thing I can pray for is Adley Rutchinson. Actually, and I just pray for better days for the Orioles. I really do, because it's hard. It's really hard to stomach some of these games because they stink. Other than John Means, Matt Harvey's kind of, I don't want to say it's a comeback here, but he's having an average okay season. I mean, we're throwing young guys under the bus. Keegan Aiken, Tyler Wells, the list goes on and on. The bats can't stay consistent other than Cedric Mullins, Mountcastle, Mancini, Anthony Santander. I don't know where he's at. Ever since that injury, not really been the same player. Austin Hayes is a platoon player. They just was it Wnba? I think that's his name. They just cut him today. We had former prospect Jorge, I think he's good. Mato from the Padres. But the Orioles need more. They need help. Like I just don't know what it's going to take. And unfortunately, this is the blessing in disguise when you're building for the future for a team. Because unfortunately, when you had Dan Duquette and Brady Anderson completely just destroyed the franchise, in my personal opinion, they didn't make it better. And then on top of that, some of these prospects, they would have nothing to show for. We have a horrible contract with Chris Davis. We still got to pay for that, even though he's retired. I give the Orioles about two more years easily before they're ready to compete. But I think a lot of it starts at the top. That's ownership. Because Peter Angelos is not. I know he's not doing well with health. I think now his sons pretty much run the day-to-day operations. There was even rumblings about the team leaving Baltimore, which I don't see that happening. Pray to God it doesn't. This is the whole point of a rebuild. Yes, there's going to be struggles. Yes, we're going to get frustrated. But 0-15, 15 straight losses. You're talking about the Nationals, man. The Nationals actually made me feel a little better. even though Josiah Gray gave up 2 home runs in 6 innings, did actually pretty well against the Blue Jays. Fact. Ever since they acquired, David Martinez has limited him to, I think against Atlanta, it was starting in Atlanta, it was 5 innings and 82 pitches, if I remember that correctly. And he actually didn't do that bad. Now, it was 3-0. What was it? It was a 3-0 lead. And then he gave up a leadoff home run there. Teoscar Hernandez. And then Marcus Semien. And then it was 3-2. But honestly and truthfully, 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, 4 Ks. Not bad. It's not bad at all. Juan Soto, well, that was the 3-0 lead. But actually, I just said, let me watch the Nationals, and they make me feel better. Because sometimes I turn the national games for me to not watch this trash in Baltimore. Because some of these games, y'all, it's hard to stomach. It truly is. It really is. Let me see I had the national schedule. Let me see who they play next. We play the Milwaukee Brewers. That actually should be a good series. And then we play the Atlanta Braves, Baltimore Orioles. And the Braves have been on a tear. Austin Riley is a potential MVP candidate. Even with Ronald Acuna Jr. not there, guys are stepping up. Let me transition away from baseball. We're going to talk some football. So, the Washington football team has narrowed it down to 3 names. They're not going to say who it is, but according to Front Office Sports, I was on Twitter, and I'll share my screen so you can see it. These are the teams. This is the list of names, that are left. So we have, these are the finalists come from these 8. The Armada, Presidents, Brigade, Red Hogs, Commanders, Red Wolves, Defenders, Washington football team. I think the Washington. I don't know. The Defenders ain't going to work. I don't like that. No. Red Wolves is not bad. The Wolf Pack, NWO Wolf Pack. I was like, what about the Washington Red Tails? Kind of paying homage to the Tuskegee Airmen. I'm surprised mine was on this list, but I guarantee it's going to come down to Defenders, Red Wolves, Presidents. I actually ain't mad at any of these 8. The only thing is that I don't like the Defenders. That's what I don't like. I don't like the Defenders name. So those are the 3 names. I think it'll work out. In my personal opinion, y'all let me know what y'all think. I think they should consider putting it there, but the new name won't come until 2022. So again, this is Daniel Snyder, just trying to trying to turn rights into wrongs. So while I'm talking about the Washington football team, they're going to play the Cincinnati Bengals. So I will cover them, that game. I'll break down that game Saturday. So Y'all let me know who y'all think is going to win that. We're going into week 2. I can't wait to see that. Now they did make some cuts. Because hold on, let me find the list. Oops. Okay. Wait a minute. I know it was 5, and 4 out of the 5 did not surprise me. Here it is. Okay, so Kevin Harmon was cut. Lamar Miller was cut. Chris Miller was cut. Honestly, like I said, Harmon wasn't a surprise. I figured that was going to happen. He just couldn't with the injury. It just wasn't going to happen. Great little wide receiver, but it just wasn't going to work. So I mean, and then Lamar Miller is on the wrong side of 30. So those are the cuts that stood on my mind. So like I said, this Friday they played the Cincinnati Bengals. So be tuned in for that. And then when on the breakdown the coverage Saturday, I'm gonna transition to the Baltimore Ravens. We made some moves. So the Ravens cut Devontae Harris, cornerback. We cut outside linebacker Aaron Dory, Eli Wolf, and then Amar Marshall and Khalil Dorsey were put on the injury reserve. I feel like at this point, Amar Marshall, I kind of see them cutting him because he just can't stay on the field, and I don't know. I really don't. And regardless of them both of them not there, we find ways that we still find ways that we don't need them. These guys are the guys step it up. Tebow Young is back, and I feel like they can still find something a little young, to get away on that contract because the contract and with him $25 million for 3 years, and he's missed 2 seasons. I'm not. I got to see what he's going to look like this year. Now I will say this: Anthony Everett has stepped up. I think he's going to be a big piece in that cog machine and Martindale's defense. Brandon Stevens at an SMU and Sean Wade, do not sleep on them. They're going to really play a big role. Now, there are some other guys I do see cut. I do see Arturo Alaka. He's a linebacker. I don't see him staying on the team. I think he's great, but again, injuries. He's another one. Eli Wolf was not a surprise. But I mean, they got plenty of guys behind Mark Andrews until Nick Boyle comes back. Eric Tomlinson, is a blocker, who's I think did really well on the pass on running blocking to me. Josh Oliver, they liked him. They really talked about him getting him from Jacksonville. He did really well. He had 4 catches for 22 yards. And I think also too, there was a couple possessions where he blocked well enough on the run. And then Ben Mason, he's a fullback tight end. I don't know what that means about Patrick Ricard. They'll probably work something out. But he has a good but he's versatile in the block. Again, like I said, can play tight end, catch passes out the backfield. They catch a couple against the Saints. And the other guy that we have is Tony Pelagian. I mean, still working out the kinks with him, but other than that, that's really what's going on in Baltimore. We're actually in Spartanburg, South Carolina, doing a joint practice. I like the joint practices. The only thing is, they can get a little physical. I was trying to listen to the press conferences interviews and different things like that. Everyone's been saying James Poche and Devin Duvernay. I'm telling you, we got to give those boys an opportunity, and they will eat. I think that they've been working their ass off for sure. Marlon Humphrey didn't practice today. From what I'm understanding, they made it difficult for Sam Darnold to find wide receivers, particularly in the red zone. They said they didn't throw it in Marcus Peters' direction, which was actually interesting. So it was my notes here, he had 1936 and team 707, several drops passed, but also some misfires. Yes, and there was a fight, but unfortunately that's going to happen. They said Derek Wolf got hurt. Well, he got to get hurt, but he took him away to go up on his feet. Mark Andrews also too. They said there was an ambulance because he's a type 1 diabetic. So I'm pretty sure got to keep his his fluids and all that up. So I hope he's doing all right. He said he had serious cramps. But yeah, I mean, and then Ben Cleveland also had a concussion, didn't play. But those are the kind of things that everyone's taken. I took from the interviews and just the videos I've seen on Twitter of the Ravens. They said Sammy Watkins was back in practice. Said it was limited. I still think with Hollywood Brown, Bateman, Boykins is out, and Deion Kane's out. I think our receiving core is going to look good. A buddy of mine has been really telling me to look at this Tyshawn Williams, and I saw a couple of videos. He is very physical, a very physical running back. We need that, and I think that third running back spot, that's definitely up for grabs. I think that's kind of saying Justice Hill is on his way out the door. But that's what I took from it. We also waived Johnny Townsend. Didn't he play for the Chiefs? Hold on. Let me do my Googles. I think he did play for the Chiefs. Oh, no, he has a brother. The Tommy. Okay. Yeah, no, he does have a younger brother. Some practice squad. Huh. Okay. I know we had him last year because Sam Cook went down with COVID, unfortunately. Now, the biggest thing I'm going to watch against the Panthers, I'm going to look to see how Duvernay and Poche are going to look in that game because they did really well against. With Bateman out until September, Hollywood Brown hasn't been practicing. Hollywood Brown hasn't practiced, and then Sammy Watkins is kind of coming back. But he said he looked good. This is a great opportunity to really see what Duvernay and Poche can do. This is an opportunity for them to step their games up. Now the left guard spot is up for grabs between at this point Ben Powers and Ben Cleveland. Cleveland's out with a concussion. Now, I think I can even see Ben guards go. Well, that's actually Tyree Phillips' job, but I think that Ben Powers will get the starting job. But I feel like Ben Cleveland. Lamar Jackson, he didn't play against the Saints, so I'm kind of going to curious to see how he's going to look against that Panther defense. They said in practice today he looked really good, looked really sharp with, especially with Mark Andrews. I know that's his go-to guy, so I'm going to look for that Saturday. The defense, our defense was Sam Darnold. They got, like I said, 19 of 36 and 707. Again, like Dalen Hayes, Adafe Onwa, Jalen Ferguson, Patrick Queen. I'm really curious to see how they're going to put the pressure on Sam Darnold. And then I feel like, there's still some guys that I think we can still look at and say, well, who's going to be gone and who's going to stay. Like I said, that number 3 tight end spot's up for grabs. I'm convinced I think it's going to be Josh Oliver. I think Geno Stone's okay for now. The only thing is, and I'll talk about this in a minute, we had a taunting penalty. We had Chris Westry and Darius Washington. Those two are kind of interesting. I like Darius Washington. I like him. He finds the ball. He's really good with his instincts. He really goes for the ball. I like him. My only thing with the NFL, I'm not liking this new rule about the taunting. My question is, what is considered taunting? When Tyreek Hill does a backflip into the end zone, or where he throws a peace sign at Antoine Warfield Jr., when I want to say it was Doug Baldwin in Seattle, where he waved at the corner, that's taunting. Because I think we're kind of, the NFL, once again, just like Major League Baseball, can't make up his mind. Now, I'm not for you showing me up as an opponent. But, if you're going to trash talk and different things like that, I'm cool with that, as long as you back it up. Because I just think that it's just, the NFL is just weird to me. The NFL is just really weird. It truly is. I wanted to talk about Cam Newton and Mac Jones real quick. I was a little bothered when they played the Eagles. No, the Washington football team, excuse me. And when Mac Jones kind of came out there, the fans kind of gave like him like a standing ovation almost. It was kind of like the second coming of Tom Brady. I get it. New England Patriots, they were spoiled with Tom Brady. Even though, in my personal opinion, if Drew Brees doesn't go down with Drew Bledsoe, doesn't go down with that injury, you would not have heard of Tom Brady. That's just my opinion. I'm just kidding. Listen, Tom Brady was a great quarterback in New England. New England fans were spoiled, with him. And I think last year was just a reality. Oh, wow, Tom's not here. And I think Cam Newton's going to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots. But, we all know Mac Jones is going to be the starter eventually. It'll be his team. So now, unfortunately, again, Boston, they put that expectation on you. Like, if you don't perform well, they will let you know. But I just thought it was just kind of weird, to me, like, well, wait a minute. Here's a guy, Cam Newton, we know he's not the same Cam Newton, but he still can show he's effective. And I just felt like the way how they did that, I didn't like that. Surprise, I'm going to talk about Madden 22. The ratings have been released for each team. Fun fact, the last time we saw a cover with two guys, since Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady on the cover of Madden 22, was Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu. That was Madden 10? Is that Madden 2010? Let me make sure my cover's right. I want to say it was 2010. Yes. Because someone else on that cover? No. Just that, so I had it right. 2010. Actually, I'm not mad at the rankings. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game. And then behind him is Tom Brady, no brainer. There's Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Lamar went down this year. He was a 94 last year. And then it's Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Dak, and then Ryan Tannehill, and then Matt Ryan. I would have liked to know, just out of curiosity, where Drew Brees would have been in there. He'd probably been in the 90s, for sure. And oh, by the way, congratulations to Patrick Mahomes and his new family. I know he just gave birth. I know his wife just gave birth to their daughter. So congratulations on that. So this is his third time Patrick Mahomes joining the 99 club. I also wanted to see who the best corner was in the game. Jalen Ramsey was the best corner. Then behind him, Stephon Gilmore, Jared Alexander for the Green Bay Packers, Tre'Davious White, Marlon Humphrey. I feel he could make a case that he could have been like a higher 90, but that's okay. Xavier Howard, James Bradbury the fourth, Denzel Ward, Kendall Fuller, Darius Slade Jr. Now, top safety in the game is I have no issue with it. Is the Honey Badger 95? Now Eddie Jackson should have been a 90, but I kind of want to know, like, what are they basing it off? Are they basing it off by team success, or are they basing it off team individual? Excuse me. Are they basing it off individual stats? Because I feel like some of these guys could be better. Like Micah Fitzpatrick is an 89, I could agree with that. Adrian Amos is an 89, I could agree with that. But Eddie Jackson should be like a 90. That's just my opinion. Mark Andrews was the fourth best tight end in Madden. And obviously Travis Kelce joined the 99 club as well. We had no 99 running back. Christian McCaffrey was the best running back in the game. I agree with that. Myles Garrett, the best edge rusher, defensive lineman in the game. Then obviously Aaron Donald, who I think is the best player in Madden in my opinion on the game so far, 99 overall. Calais Campbell was not on this list. That was kind of interesting. The Bosa brothers are in the high 90s. Von Miller is still 93 respectively. J.J. Watt is a 94. I respect that. What else? I'm sorry. Yeah, they had Calais Campbell. Yeah, right. Okay. I'm like the Green Bay Packers. No, yeah, 90 overall. I respect that. Wow, Michael Pierce is better than Calais Campbell in this game. Wow. Okay. It's tough. Highest speed rating is, wow, it's a tie between Harry Ruggs III and Tyreek Hill. And behind him is a four-way tie between Hollywood Brown, Mecole Hardman, Jalen Waddle, Anthony Schwartz, 97. They don't think DK's like a 98. Because y'all remember that game against the Cardinals, how he chased down Buda Baker like that? Oh my gosh, that game was still crazy. Top 10 wide receivers: Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek, Stephon Diggs, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson. I agree with that. No wrong with that. They're saying Kyle Pitts is the best rookie in the game. And then second, it's Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Waddle, Patrick Surtain. Wow, interesting. And then honorable mention, Rashard Bateman is the interesting. And obviously, we go, new people going to different teams. Matthew Stafford's going to the Rams. Jared Goff is in Detroit. A 77 overall. Wow. Carson Wentz is a 72 overall. Wow. Jalen Hurts is a 71. I think that's okay. Sam Darnold is a 71 overall. Jonnu Smith is an 81 overall. That's not bad. And the lowest, they're all long snappers. Okay. 25 overall. Zach Trainer for the Buccaneers. Matthew Ozorick, Joe Cardona. Wow. Interesting. So you let me know what team you use on Madden. Who do you think stood out to you as the best player? Who should have been who should have got more consideration? Because I said the best team offense to use in Madden is the Chiefs, Bucks, and the Packers. They're all in the high 90s. Everyone else is kind of, I think the Browns are like the fourth with 89. Which I think is a little like 89, and where Baltimore's 84. But that's neither here nor there. So I just want to just really kind of wrap the NFL up with some other things, some other news I found. So injuries. Tevin Jenkins, who I think Baltimore should have drafted, is going to undergo back surgery. Justin Fields has a groin issue. Calais Campbell for the Steelers isn't practicing. He had a minor ankle sprain. Tyree Jackson had a small fracture in his back. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Dak Prescott, I'm not panicking on that. It's a strained shoulder. He'll be back on the court. He'll be back on the field, excuse me. Elijah Moore's out with a quad injury, and Elijah Vera Tucker also didn't practice. Robbie Anderson for the Panthers is dealing with a hamstring injury. I was looking at the interview on that on YouTube. Patrick Surtain didn't practice. A lot of small injuries already, ladies and gentlemen. This is just one of many. That's kind of concerning. We kind of need to kind of watch that. Alex Lewis is retiring, former Raven for the Jets. Let know what's going on with that. The other thing that stood out was Tim Tebow being released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me say this. It was an experiment that failed. Tim Tebow hasn't been in the league since 2012, 2013. Tim Tebow is a great person. I respect his faith as a Christian man. I think that's important. But let's call a spade a spade. He's not a tight end, ladies and gentlemen. That is like a football player, a defensive end or offensive lineman trying to try out for a basketball team to be a point guard. That's not going to work. And it clearly showed in the preseason game where he couldn't even. There are 2 possessions where he didn't even commit to block. They even had a offensive possession, where he and Tavon Austin were in the same area. And for some odd reason, I don't know if it was a miscommunication, misdirection. Tim Tebow just stood there looking like, oh, the ball was for him. Tim Tebow is a great person. But the biggest thing is, listen, I mean, we can all spell out what happened when he was in Denver, but they were 8-8, mediocre. Okay, they played against a Pittsburgh team. Ike Taylor didn't show up that day, and Pittsburgh stacked the line. And it showed against when he lost to New England that year. Like I don't have anything against Tim Tebow, but the biggest thing that Tim Tebow could have worked on was in the offseason, how can I be a better passer? And don't tell me, well, he showed you that year. They lost 8 games. Just like when they talk about Lamar Jackson, how he needs to improve at being a better passer, that's what Tim Tebow could have done. Tim Tebow was a great college quarterback. Tim Tebow could actually be a great coach. Could be a good coach for, an assistant. But he was never going to be a tight end. Let's just call it what it is. So we're going to transition into basketball. The NBA released the Christmas Day schedule. So that means I can't wait to watch Inside the NBA where Ernie, Chuck, Shaq, and Kenny, they get to exchange their Christmas gifts. I can't wait to see what it's going to be this year. Did they do it last year? I don't even think they did it last year. But it'll be – I'm going to share my screen so y'all can see the games. We got – this is the tip-off. So the first game, we got the Nets versus the Bucks. That's going to be a good game. I can't wait to see that. Then it's going to be the Golden State Warriors versus the Los Angeles Lakers. I can't wait for that. Then we got the Celtics, Knicks, Nuggets, Suns, Mavericks, Hawks, Clippers, Warriors, Nets, Sixers, Suns, Lakers. Woo! That's some fire. Definitely got some fire. I can't wait. I cannot wait, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the Christmas Day. Here's the Christmas Day schedule. So the first game is going to be the Hawks versus the Knicks, the Celtics versus the Bucks, Warriors versus the Suns, Nets versus the Lakers, and Mavs versus the Jazz. I cannot wait. I can't wait. I think the biggest one for the opening tip-off for me is I want to see the Nets versus the Bucks because the Bucks beat the Nets in 7. So I want to kind of see there's going to be some revenge there from the for the Nets. Obviously, the Lakers beat Steph Curry and the Warriors in that playoff game. That play-in game, excuse me. The Nuggets got swept by the Suns. But Jamal Murray's coming back. I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to look. This was a matchup I really wanted to see, but it didn't happen because the Sixers, choked. They lost 3 home games, and now they're dealing with they have this. They're kind of dysfunctional because they don't know what to do with Ben Simmons. But that's neither here nor there. The Chris Paul versus LeBron James. I kind of want to see that, which kind of makes me transition into the next topic where LeBron was kind of like, I didn't know. No one voted for me as the best player. He's going to be 37 this year. LeBron James is arguably the best player of this generation. I'm not greatest of all time. I don't do that kind of talk. He's the best of this generation. So let me actually pull the link up. So this was a survey according to ESPN.com. And not the survey. Where is it? Okay, but pretty much to summarize it, there was 10 anonymous executives and then scouts, right? To see who the best player was. And LeBron James didn't get a vote. And pretty much, I don't want to say he's in his feelings. I guess he was being sarcastic towards it. But he pretty much was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm washed up. No, who said that? No one said you're washed up. Like, if people were watching the games, they would understand that he's not the best player in the league. It's really, he's not even top 3. Really not even top 5. I think, in my personal opinion, I think it's Giannis and Kevin Durant, the top 2 players in the league. Then Steph Curry. Trae Young should get some consideration. But I mean, again, I understand with injuries, but he did average 25, 7, and 7. LeBron he was second on NBA. But he's not washed. He's got to stop with this. They don't show me any love mentality. You are guy. You're one of the best in the game. What more do you want? Michael Jordan wasn't like that. I guarantee wasn't like that. Kobe Bryant wasn't like that. Shaq, besides in his feelings about Steve Nash winning 2 MVPs over him, but LeBron, I just don't get it. I really don't. I think LeBron he's not shown that he's washed up. He's just not the best player in the NBA. Unfortunately, we've been spoiled with LeBron, and he's got to understand it's the dawning of a new era in the NBA. The page is turning. At some point, you're going to have to hand those keys off to somebody else. Kevin Durant, Giannis, Trae Young, Jason Tatum. You're going to have to pass the torch at some point. Let your pride go. Now, well, I already talked about that, but he's not washed up. I think he's just being LeBron James. So The NBA 2K22, they released their ratings. I'm going to share my screen so y'all can see that. I would like to know who the 99 is going to be. Yeah, so far, I feel like Kevin Durant should be like a 98, 97. They never show really Kevin Durant E11 2K. I don't know what that is. I don't know where that comes from. But yeah, LeBron, KD, Steph, Giannis, all night so far high 96. Embiid, Kawhi, the Joker 95. Luka, James Harden, Dame Time 94. The only one I was surprised that kind of swept me off my feet was Kyrie Irving was not even here. LaMelo Ball reads out as a 84. Now the Chris Middleton, 88. That's interesting. Now we will have for this year, the WNBA, since it's their 25th year, Candace Parker is the first woman to grace the cover of it, which is well deserved. Candace Parker is one of the best players in the WNBA, and again, from Tennessee to the Sparks and going back on to play for Chicago. I hope she's doing well. No, she messed her ankle up again. I hope she's all right though. She topped off as the fourth best player. Top best player was Breonna Stewart. So far, these are the five that they released. Asia Wells was 94. John Paul Jones is 94. I would like to see where Skylar Diggins is on that list. Tina Charles. I'm trying to think of my names off the top of my head real quick. Wow, wait, Tina Charles and Scott Diggins were not on that. Interesting. Okay. And I'm not sure with Breonna Stewart. I don't know. I don't know if they're basing this off of individual or team success. So y'all let me know how y'all feel about the ratings. Last topic, second to last topic of the NBA. Going to stick with basketball. We'll talk about the Kevin Durant and Draymond Green interview. That finally, I was on Bleacher Report. I was kind of surprised about it, and I'm glad. First of all, let me I'm gonna share my screen, and before I get into it, there's a few things on the slip. Let me progress my comments before we play the video. I'm all about guys hammering it out and squashing their beef. The biggest thing that I take away from it is admitting you're wrong, and as black men coming together and squashing beef. Their beef was already squashed. It lets me know that they appreciate each other and their friendship. And I respect it about Draymond and KD. Draymond Green plays a pivotal role and has played a pivotal role in the success of the Golden State Warriors. Besides Steph Curry, Kevin Durant was just the missing piece to the puzzle. Well, not missing piece, but he was just somebody that kicked it up a notch even more. And I felt like when he left, he had one for he to me. I feel like he was going to leave after the second championship because he already had one foot out the door. I think the way they handled it, that argument when they played the Clippers. I just didn't like it, but we're going to play the clip.
And every night, so I just try to focus in and stay in the moment more than anything.
And for my own personal sanity, because I've been getting my ass kicked ever since you left. So just for my own personal sanity, how much did our argument against the Clippers drive you to ultimately lead the Warriors?
It wasn't an argument. It was the way that everybody, Steve Kerr, act like it didn't happen. Bob Myers and tried to just discipline you and think that would put the mask over everything. I really felt like that was such a big situation for us as a group. The first time we went through something like that, we had to get that shit all out. I remember watching The Last Dance, And when Scotty didn't go into the game, the whole team in the locker room said, Scotty, that was fucked up that you did that. We needed that. We just needed to throw all of that shit out on the table and say, yo, Dre, K, like, that was fucked up that we even had to go through that. Let's just wipe our hands with that and go finish the task. I don't think we did that. We tried to dance around it. I just didn't like how all of that, just the vibe between all of that, it just made shit weird to me. And I'd rather us be who we say we are, family first. Communication is key. Like, we didn't show that, and that's what rubbed me the wrong way more than anything.
When we landed back from LA, I sat Hazel was sitting in the car for an hour and 45 minutes. They pulled me in that room at Signature for an hour and 45 minutes, and they tried to tell me, you need to apologize. And I told them, I'll talk to Kay, but y'all aren't going to tell me what I need to say. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they went on for an hour and 45 minutes saying a bunch of bullshit. And ultimately, they realized, all right, we're not getting through to him. We're going to try again in the morning. And so we met the next morning, and they said, all right, you slept on it. You ready to apologize? And I told them right then and there, I said, y'all about to fuck this up. I said, the only person that can make this right is me and Kay. And there's nothing that y'all can do, and y'all are going to fuck this up. And in my opinion, they fucked it up.
I think so too.
And they told me right then and there, like, we're going to suspend you for this game. I laughed in their face, literally laughed in their face. And Bob said to me, he said, wow, that was not the reaction I was looking for or expecting. And I said, well, either I'm going to laugh in your face or I'm going to cuss you the fuck out. So you pick, I'm going to choose laugh. So I think what you're doing is funny, and so I'm going to laugh. And so it's interesting to hear you say essentially the same thing that I told them that day. But, you know, and moving past that, kind of along those same lines, you've now played with Russ, who I think has an incredible chip on his shoulder that sometimes goes too far. Mm-hmm. Myself, who has a chip on my shoulder that sometimes go too far. Kyrie, who has a chip on his shoulder that sometimes goes too far. And James, who has a chip on his shoulder that probably sometimes goes too far. And playing with all the guys that you play with, that you can say, he probably go way too far.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stop it right there. But there was something also too that I'm gonna play in this clip as well. But the one thing I think that I took from that part in the interview was, I think Draymond was kind of upset that Kevin left. I think he really wanted Kevin to stay. But I think it also, too, in my opinion, I think it shows how tight they are as a friendship. And I applaud the fact that they hammered it out. Now, my only issue with the whole thing, and I think this needs to be the more, because I was watching First Take. I want you to listen to this clip from Stephen A. And there was something he said that triggered me to go, let me go like Arsenio Hall back in the day. So let's listen to the clip, y'all.
How when the stuff he was watching The Last Dance and when Scottie Pippen refused to enter the game, you had players getting on him. With all due respect, where the hell was Steph Curry? The babyface assassin, the greatest shooter that God has ever created, the clear, absolute superstar player for this team, the face of the franchise. Where was he at in all of this? I found it very, very conspicuous that Kevin Durant and Draymond Green never mentioned his name. Not one time. Because a lot of times we see things and we have seen things that have transpired with the Golden State Warriors, and other stars for other franchises would have been called upon to handle something. We've never done that with Steph Curry. No one ever says, what about Steph Curry? You know what? Maybe it's because he's 33 and he looks 16. That's how young he looks, okay? And obviously he's got that kind of wonderful, affable, personality. It's impossible to dislike him and all of that stuff. He's loved universally and whatever. But I can also tell you that anybody that comes to the Golden State Warriors knows that he's the golden child.
Okay. Now, I think that the better appropriate question was, why wasn't he mentioned in this? I think it's unfair to blame Steph. I do. Because now I had to do my research. So there was a Mark Medina of the Mercury News reported, quote, back in March, Curry went to Green's house to meet with him privately. And also, too, he met with Durant privately. 2 days after the revocation, which was on the 15th, he sat between Durant and Green and often shared laughs. Green told Medina that Curry played an important role in settling down the situation. He was tapped into the situation from the beginning. Moderna was also told by Klay Thompson that Curry is a great voice of reasoning during the time of turbulence. Now, keep in mind, Steph Curry has a personality where he's not really a vocal leader, but when he speaks up, he speaks up. He's very funny, light. He keeps you loose. He keeps things loose. And I don't know what you mean. Like Stephen A. had that backwards. The biggest thing was they knew Steph didn't play a part in it. This is my issue with it. Because if I was on the Warriors, we're playing and that game against the Clippers, hold on, let's do this. Because I want to get to a point where you guys understand where I'm coming from. I want you to listen to this roster: Jordan Bell, Andrew Bogut, Quinn Cook, DeMarcus Cousins, Marcus Dickerson, and Damian Lee on a two-way contract. Jacob Evans, Andre Iguodala, Jonas Jerebko, Damon Jones, Sean Livingston, Klay Thompson, Alfonso McKinney, Kevon Looney. You mean to tell me none of those guys after the game said, "Yo, that's fucked." Excuse my language, but that's fucked up how you handle that situation. We have a task to do, and that's to win a championship. Now, granted, Kevin Durant's foot, he had one foot out the door. He didn't want to be in Golden State. I think a lot of it had to do with Steve Kerr and Bob Myers. But I think to sorely throw them under the bus and not call out, well, what about Iggy? What about DeMarcus Cousins? What about Kevon Looney? Sean Livingston? They're all, to me, in my point, they play a part. Me personally, if I was in that locker room, I'd have some choice words for Kevin Durant and Draymond. I have no disrespect personally, but I would have said the same thing like they did with Scotty. Yo, man, what's that about? We got a task to do. The way y'all handle out there, that's fucked up. That's what I would have done. Now, I do think Steph Curry, now Stephen A. should have had his facts checked for sure. Because there's something else I want to play in that. Because he also pinpointed on the episode today where he said somebody, I guess that was close to the Golden State Warriors. He didn't say who it was, but he's saying, well, if they were somebody, if there was a black executive or a black coach, they would have had this squashed, and Kevin Durant would have stayed. It's not always about race. It's not always about race. Let me ask you a question. Do you not think Aaron Rodgers in his mind somewhere, someplace, is still considering leaving Green Bay? What about Tom Brady when he decided to leave New England? Robert Kraft could have done a better job of saying, hey, Tom, what is it? What do you want? Hey, Aaron Rodgers, what can we make you stay? It's not always about race, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. I think for him to bring that up, I think that I understand it, but I felt that wasn't the right time to bring that up. You know, with Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb, great example. Where Terrell Owens is on his driveway doing sit-ups. You mean to tell me Andy Reid, Jeffrey Lurie, I can't think of one of the Eagles on the top of my head. Brian Dawkins. You mean tell me they couldn't sit those two down and work it out? So I think for Steven to use that, I think that was just wrong. To me, in my personal opinion, I just didn't think that made sense. I want to stick with Kevin Durant for a minute because I love Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's one of my favorite ball players. I followed him since he was at Texas. I knew, no, there's no beef with me and KD. I respect Kevin Durant. You know, sometimes I would love to do an interview with Kevin Durant one day. I would love to do that. But I'm going to play this one clip. We talked about his relationship with the media. Let me share my screen so y'all can see that.
Early on in your career, like you said, you was the happy one. You was the kid that carried the backpack. Nike started a backpack line because you always, and you to this day, you still carry a backpack all the time. And so there's this common misconception that you're not the kid that carries the backpack anymore. I still think you're the kid that loves basketball and carry a backpack.
Yeah.
But over the course of the years, your answers to the media, how you deal with the media has changed. Why is that? Is that just who you grew into? Is that because of the way they act with certain shit? Where did that?
I felt like the media knew more than me. I almost had them on a pedestal of like, they got more history, knowledge of the game, they more experienced than me in this area of the NBA. So once I started to get more experience and realize like, oh no, they can never be what I am or know what I know or understand it the way I understand it. Some of the questions, they didn't seem so intelligent to me anymore. People wanted to praise me more than I liked or hate me more than I liked, make a big deal out of so much other shit. And I was just like, this game is simple to me. So some of the stuff that y'all asking really doesn't move me the way it used to. I just, starting to see life different. I can see this game different. So, of course my answers and questions, about what goes on is going to be different too. So I just chalk that up to just maturity and experience.
And speaking of media, social media, obviously.
Yeah, this is good to know. So I mean, I get it. I mean, Kevin Durant does get criticized. I don't think I feel like he gets criticized a little bit more than LeBron James. I think him, when they say he was like the second best, he'll always be the second best. I think that's just wrong. I think it's time, we give Kevin Durant I've been said Kevin Durant, regardless, is one of the best players in the game. If I was starting a franchise, I'd want Kevin Durant on my team. Plain and simple.
We were teammates when you got caught with the burner account. One thing that I love about the burner account is everything that you said on the burner account, you just started to say on Kevin Durant's account.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like it, as most people voice. They don't like how you respond to some fans or how you respond to this, how you are always tweeting. What do you make of people's reaction to you responding to fans? And if you think something, you send it.
Yeah. I just think people are still upset that I went to the Warriors, and a lot of people who are Cavs
gotta let that go.
Who enjoy watching the Cavs beat y'all.
It's time to let that go, though. It really is. It's time. Let it go. let it go. It's a business. You know, we didn't like the way Kevin Durant got criticized, and to say that, you know, when LeBron James left Cleveland to go to Miami, y'all were on Kevin Durant more than LeBron, but that's neither here nor there. Let it go.
Before, which is a lot of people. I didn't realize that until I got there. A lot of people enjoyed seeing y'all lose in 2016. And a lot of those people were upset that we were so good. And they're still upset because you do the same shit on Twitter. Damian Lillard does the same shit on Twitter.
CJ McCollum.
McCollum does the same shit on Twitter. We all do the same shit on Twitter, but
Lexi
for me,
Brown.
it's a problem.
Lexi Brown's the other one too.
Just me being so good at what I
Shout
do.
out to Lexi Brown.
And playing with a team that was so great, and we fit so well. Nobody likes a great thing. And I guess I was the cause of that great thing because I came and joined. So it's way deeper than what I do on Twitter. And I understand that. And it's funny to me at this point because you can't erase what we did. You're never going to erase it. And you know you love watching us play. You know what I'm saying? So
I think it's the best era of basketball ever, in my opinion.
But that's really what it is. So many people still upset with me that I chose to play basketball for the Golden State Warriors, which is sad at this point because it's almost a decade since I made that decision. You know what I'm saying? That's never going to stop me from engaging with fans because at the end of the day, I'm only talking about basketball. I'm not diving into politics. I'm not telling you how you should live. I'm not flexing my money or my power or none of that shit on you. I'm just literally talking about the game, you know, and what I see. And I don't think it harms anyone.
Preach. No, I think, looking at this interview, it was just two guys just chilling, and you know, it gives us an opportunity to take a step back and look at these guys and understand they're human too. You know, these interviews, and I would love to really see an interview with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. I just feel for Kevin Durant because I think the media has played a role, and there's another subject I'm going to get into after this, of the spewing hate towards Kevin Durant in terms of basketball. And to really sit there, I mean, a decade later, we're still on him about going to Golden State. I mean, like, Kevin Durant has always been down to earth. He's been the same since Texas. Nothing's changed. Great. It was a great interview. Shout out to Draymond Green and Kevin Durant. Real quick, I gotta play that clip real quick. Let me find it. Give me 1 second, y'all. It was funny. I gotta play it real quick. Where is it? Here we go.
You talk a lot of shit. Act like you.
We grinding for this one. We gonna go up the stairs. Everybody who said we was gonna take the L, they had some power rankings on.
Kendrick Perkins, you talk a lot of shit. Act like you American.
They had some power rankings out. They had us 4th behind Slovenia.
Like this not our game.
Come on, man. Talking about they catching up to us. Like, are you serious? This skill is unmatched. You dig? Shout out to everybody that won this gold. Everybody that chipped in and helped out. We're going to the press conference, but I had to talk my shit real quick.
Yo, I had to play that. That clip was just funny to me. Kevin Durant, man, great. Draymond Green, shout out to y'all. One of my favorite basketball players. Even though Draymond Green, some of the decision making on the court, he's one of the best. I think he should be considered in the Hall of Fame. That's my opinion. But Oh my gosh. Some NBA news real quick. Patrick Beverley was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves after being traded from the Los Angeles Clippers to the Memphis Grizzlies. That was kind of a surprising move. I'm not sure what that means for me. I think probably I'm looking at it like from the standpoint. I think Memphis just wants to stay young, and I think it's all about cap space. Christy Tolliver was hired by the Dallas Mavericks as an assistant coach. Christy Tolliver, plays for Los Angeles Sparks. I think that's great. She was actually with us for the Washington Wizards under Scott Brooks' coaching staff. So that's great. She was only here for 2 seasons. Former Mystic too. She also played a part helping the Sparks win the title in 2016 and the Mystics 2019. So I think it was really, really great. I think it's really great. Shout out to the Dallas Mavericks. I think I like to see more of that diversity. I'd like to see more that going into the front office, more black GMs, black owners. I like to see more of that. Jason Terry is going to be head coach of the G League's Gatorade Gold. Jason Terry was probably one of the best 3-point shooters. Me watching growing up. He played, for Mavericks, Bucks, Celtics, Nets, Rockets, Hawks. Definitely, I think, because he was an assistant coach for the Arizona Wildcats last year. So that's kind of interesting to see how that'll look. Terry Rozier and the Charlotte Hornets got a 4-year extension. What's that? $97 million. Rozier, had a good year. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 30% from threes. Now, fun fact. Rozier, Chris Middleton, and Jamal Murray are the only players to reach those statistical marks without being selected to an NBA All-Star team. That is interesting. Now, the Charlotte Hornets have made some moves. They signed Kelly Oubre Jr. They got James Boku Knight and Kai Jones. They did really good at the Summer League. LaMelo Ball's coming back. That was something I wanted to talk about. I want to give a shout out to the DMV and the Legends group chat. Cam, Marcus, Elliot. They know who they are. Pretty much, LaMelo Ball was talking about in a GQ interview about school, and let me just say this. I wish I could find that clip. I can find it. The education system's not perfect. We know it can be. We know it can be fixed. But I think. I think there's something about having a plan A and a plan B, especially as an athlete, even really if you're not an athlete, because I think this notion that, particularly with basketball, it kind of bothers me that some of these guys, I think, don't think some of them don't. They don't take it for granted. They should take it for granted. I look at Zion, right? Zion is probably one of the best I've seen come out of Duke. He has a high fly dunker. But the question I always ask, if LaMelo Ball or Zion Williamson went down tomorrow, what is your plan B? Now, this was what he said. Quote, you want to go into the league, so school is not your priority. He thinks the NCAA has to change, and there should be more options for kids to make money before they get to the NBA. The Supreme Court opened the pathway towards that in a landmark ruling shortly after our interview. We're not tripping off school. We're not dumb. We know we need to learn. We don't need school. And school don't even teach you shit. Like, what the fuck is school? Then he went to Instagram, and basically he was saying that school isn't for everybody. He's fully invested in his plan A, which is the NBA, which is great. My only thing is he is involved with some 36-year-old Instagram model, and he's 21. Please do not make the same mistake that PJ Washington made. I just think that's just something's wrong with that picture, ladies and gentlemen. That, you know, a 36-year-old woman is going after a 21-year-old. I don't. That just makes me uncomfortable. But if roles were reversed, all hell's breaking loose. That's just my opinion. School, you know what? I respect it. School isn't for everybody, but you need to have a plan. You need to do something. I mean, you know, the education system can be better, yes. But you know what's really sad is a lot of these guys like LaMelo, Zion, and others, they have exposed the one and done rule. I think, in my personal opinion, I don't like it one bit, because I think some of these guys come in the NBA, particularly, and they have a lot of lack in certain skills. How to switch on defense, how to post up. Everybody wants to shoot threes. Everyone wants to be the next high fly dunker. That's not everybody. And a lot of these guys think, well, because I had a great year at my college, for example, South Carolina, I'm automatically number one overall, a first round pick. No, I think it should be a max 2 years. I'm not taking anything away from these guys. I'm not. I think all these guys can play. But the biggest issue that I have is that the guy they have to take a step back. If LaMelo Ball went down tomorrow, $30 million isn't going to last him the rest of his life unless he's smart with it. Because let's call it what it is. A lot of these guys that have made exorbitant amount of money over the years have blown it. Why? Because people have taken from them, or they're misusing their money. They're not investing in it properly. A great example, Jamal Lewis, former Baltimore Raven, running back, had to file for bankruptcy because his business has failed, bad investments. And if you look, and you ain't got to take my word for it. Go on YouTube and search NFL players, how they spent their first $1 million. You ain't got to take my word for it. I get what he's saying, but education is going to get you further in life than dribbling a basketball, because overseas ain't for everybody. You know, look at his middle brother, LiAngelo Ball. LiAngelo Ball, in my personal opinion, could have been a first round pick, but because of his poor choice, his poor decision making, where it got him arrested and kicked out of UCLA. Now, I mean, he can make an NBA roster. He's been playing his tail off in the summer league. But I just feel like your plan A is great, but what's your plan B? What's your plan C? What's your fallback plan? It can't always be sports. And again, everybody's not an athlete. These guys have it easy. So I think school should be a priority, but basketball can't always be the number one. Because at some point, injuries, age, attrition, that's all going to come down the line when you turn 30, 31, 32, 33. Some of these guys don't even last 3-5 years in the NBA. Look at Anthony Bennett, number one overall pick on the UNLV. He could have benefited staying in school at least another year. TJ Ford, great ball player. Didn't realize this. I feel like he didn't realize his full potential. Greg Oden could have stayed another year. I'm going to stick with basketball. That's right. You see the title. We got our ass kicked again. We're 8-13. We lost to the Mercury again. 8-14. Let me just give you the final score for the Mystics. 77-64. I'm going to talk about that in Saturday's video. Where do I start? I still haven't recovered from the fact we blew a 21-point lead. Then to come out the next night and just once this, Maisha Hines-Allen had 16. Okay. She twisted her ankle. I think, within the first 10 minutes of the game. And on top of that, when she did come back, she's missed a good half of the first season because she was coming from a knee injury. We were back and forth. It was throwing haymakers. The score for 5 minutes was 11. And then it was a 7-0 run at the end of the first, where Vegas was actually this close to pulling away. We kept it at 2 after the first quarter. Our lead came in the second quarter. It was a little under 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Cheetah Charles had an open 3. And then the Aces took the lead. Mack put this stat out again. The Aces turned the ball over 14 times. And we definitely took advantage of that. But we had an 8-point lead going to halftime. Tina Charles had 17 points in the second quarter. In the third quarter, there were 5 lead changes. And then on top of that, from the halftime until the fourth quarter, for 10 minutes, that was a really intense game. Once again, I have to point this out. Shatori Walker-Kimbrell, who signed with the Mystics for the rest of the season, I'm actually glad she's still with us. She should have been with us from the jump. I don't know why we moved on from her, but that's neither here nor there. Natasha Cloud. Another game with single digits. 7 points. Theresa Plaisance, 2 points. Cindy Weiss, 2 points. Erica McCall, 6. Elani Mitchell, a donut. Shatori, 6. Maisha, 6. Tina Charles, another double-double. Ariel Atkins, 24. I can't make this up, people. Tina Charles cannot lead this team by herself. Until I get it on paper. Emma Mieseman, Elena Deladon, Alyssa Clark, I think on paper, healthy is a top 2, top 3 team in the league. But without Deladon, we don't know when she's going to come back. Emma Mieseman, I don't know when she's coming back. Alyssa Clark's not coming back until next year. This is what this is the product. This is the results. Kelsey Plum had 24 points. And yet 21 of them came in clutch when it came in clutch. Asia Wilson, a double-double. Liz Cambage had 10. Raquana Williams had 10. Chelsea Gray had 13. You have 5 players in double digits, and we only had 2. "21 of her 24 points, Kelsey Plum, came in the second half. This is disgusting to watch. And on top of that, we lost again to Phoenix. I mean, I'm looking. Ariel Atkins had not a really okay was. I mean, she shot 44% from the field, but had from behind the arc 2 of 11. Natasha Cloud. I don't know where the 2019 and the 2018 Natasha Cloud's at right now. I don't know where she's at. Maisha Hines-Allen, I feel like the ankle sprain kind of took the momentum away from her. You know, I'm looking at these box scores, and there's just inconsistencies. Inconsistencies, people. And this was the same team that I said was going to be the top 2, top 3 teams, top 2, top 3 team when I made that 144 documentary. Okay, if you don't mind, I want to point some other box scores out. And again, I'm not trying to call people out. I'm just simply seeing my eyes, because again, I'm quoting the regular Ravens fan. Trust your eyes. Okay. Sunday, when we blew that 21-point lead, we had 4 scorers in double digits. But how we blew a 21-point lead is beyond me. Okay? Let's give another one. Chicago, that was a good one. Let me go to where is it at? Here we go. The Liberty versus the Mystics. Tina Charles was the only scorer in double digits. Shavonte Hills had 5 points in that game. Theresa Plassance had 7. Leilani had 8. Ariel Atkins had 9. Sydney had 9. Shatori had 8. Megan had 2. 2 of 9, 3 of 9, 3 of 11, 3 of 9, 3 of 6, 1 of 2, 2 of 8 from the 3. Just inconsistencies. Consistent scoring, consistent transition on defense, committing less turnovers, and making the smart plays. I can't tell you how bad it was with them not trying to create mismatches against Las Vegas. That's what stood out to me. They did not make any significant moves like that. Now, let me pull up the rest of the schedule. Because we're coming out of the wire, because the last game is on the 19th. So we have, hold on, because we played the Storm. So we got 11 games left. We play the Storm home this Sunday. We got the Sparks. We got the Wings. Dallas Wings. We play the Wings twice. Connecticut. So we're home for 5 games. Okay. We got to go on the road. We got to go to Minnesota. We got to go to Seattle. We come back home against Atlanta. We got to go to Chicago on the 12th of September. We got to go to New York on the 17th. Battle of Antietam's anniversary. Just random. Don't mind me. And then our final home game is against the Mystics, the 19th. At this point, if the playoffs started today, the Washington Mystics wouldn't even be in the playoffs. That's a fact. You know, I'm disappointed in Coach T's going to get a pass because obviously injuries. And in the smell of a championship from 2 years ago is still fresh in the air. But Natasha Cloud's got a contract extension. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do about Emma Meeson. Tina Charles signed on for another year. I don't think this is, in my personal opinion, I don't think this is what she was expecting. I think she was expecting a little bit more. Because I ain't going to lie, some of these girls on this team, we're going to really evaluate who stays, who goes. Because right now, like I said, the AC are two teams that are not even above 500. Mediocre. And for Tina Charles to carry this team by herself? Are you serious? Let me play the clips from the post game because this is disgusting. I love the Mystics, but we got to be better. We have to be better than this. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely disgusting. I'm going to have to really go to that last home game on the 19th, though. I ain't going to lie. And Tina Charles is making history. I think she just passed Sue Bird, 6th all time. But come on, man. She just can't do it by herself. Now, I do want to point this out. Now, according to Caesar's Sportsbook, on the 15th, Ariel against the Aces, Atkins scored 20 points and Maisha totaled 16. Atkins 24 points per game and Hines 24 are the third and fourth most points against the Aces this season. Washington averaged going into this game averaged 10.5 threes against the Aces this season, the most in the league. Tina Charles totaled 4 3-pointers, marking 4 of 8 of shooting on the 15th. Now, that was when we blew that 21-point lead. I got to find the other one. But this was the other night against Las Vegas. And you got to take my word for it. Just listen what Coach T, Tina, and them got to say. Look at the body language, especially on Ariel.
That's a question that's not really an easy answer. I mean, do what different? I mean, Kelsey Plum got hot, but we didn't do a good job on her. But I don't know, other than find somebody else to guard her. She made shots against 3 different people. I thought she was the difference in the game. She was great for them. We did a reasonable job on their other players, but they shot a great percentage. I mean, they made shots. We don't have the size to match up with them right now. And I thought, again, in the second half, they're switching all the things we worked on the last 2 days. Still, we didn't solve it. We're not as good as them right now. We're playing 2 to 3 quarters of good basketball, but their experience and their size and their making shots. I mean, when you get 34 points from their bench and we have 10, that's a tough, thing.
See my point? I mean, how can you can't? What are you supposed to say? Can't defend that. 34 points off their bench compared to this was the other night.
Exactly. Trying to figure it out. Just need to be more locked in. Need to be more engaged. We got to want it more. It's not like we don't have the pieces to do it or the people who can do it. Yeah, that's exactly what said. Exactly what she said. She said that we have 2 days to get back to Phoenix, and that's the most important game, as Eric Tebow has said. The most important game right now on this trip is getting to is that game versus Phoenix. They're right close to us in the standings, so we just gotta get this bad taste out of our mouth and then try to get this one. I think she's just being aggressive and taking what the defense gives her. I think she knows that she's one of the top players to look to and go to, and I think that's what she's trying to do right now. And so I'm, the coach is not saying anything to her. We're not saying anything to her. We believe and have confidence in her and her maturation into the player that she is. Exactly.
Aaron Atkins, please, is next.
But as you guys can probably
Look at this body language. This is what I'm talking
see, we
about.
look like a championship team. But as you
Because before she took the words out of my mouth on this interview. Just
But
let
as
you
you
know.
guys can probably see, we look like a championship team in the first half, and then coming out in the second half, we just don't have the same energy or grit to us. So that's something that we have to figure out. I don't think that's something that our coaches can help us with. I think that's on us. If we show up every night in the way that we know how for 40 minutes, we look different. And then the conversation becomes, we're one of the best teams in the league. And I feel like right now the narrative is, man, the Mystics, they're good, or they can be good, but something's just missing, and that's on us to figure out. And so to me, that's our vibe right now, is it's on us to figure out what it is that's missing. And a lot of times I don't think that's going to come through talk. I think that's just going to come through action. But as you guys can probably see, we look like a championship team.
And honestly, she makes a good point. I really just don't know what else you can say. It's not coaching. I'm not calling out. I'm not pointing. I'm just pointing out what I'm seeing in the game. What I'm observing. These are something's got to give for this. Something has to give. I just think, not saying that this team on paper, like right now, they're not bad, and don't say we don't have the pieces, but you got to step it up. There's got to be some consistent scoring. Like, there's just no way in the first half we come out looking like she said, a championship team, and then we look like ducks without heads. Our heads are chopped off. That's impossible. There's no excuse for that. And again, like I said, Tina Charles is making history. She's now 6th all time. I believe she's going to pass Cappy Pondexter in top 5. I think she'll finish at least not top 5. She'll finish top 5 before the season's over. Because at this point, give her. She needs to be scoring champion. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about this this weekend. Who are the potential MVP candidates? She's one of them, but her team's not winning. And unfortunately, she should be, because I gave her, between her and John Paul Jones, should be MVP. But I guarantee you it's going to be Breonna Stewart. It's just frustrating. And then tonight we lost by 13. The Washington Mystics will figure it out. I really hope Della Dawn comes back. Emma comes back. But something going for this team. I don't see this team right now staying the same next year. I don't. I really don't. I really see some changes being made, because I'd say the biggest disappointment is Natasha Cloud this whole season. I don't know where the 2018, 2019 Natasha Cloud is at right now. And she just got a contract extension. Elena gets a pass because she's recovering from back surgery. Emma was overseas playing for Belgium. Where everybody else at? Last topic of the night. Talk about Naomi Osaka and the mainstream media. I made a video talking about Naomi and why I applaud her, understanding that, taking away some time from tennis to get herself together. I've also been, in my personal opinion, looking at it from the outside. The media, what's really interesting about the media, and the reason why I decided to pursue a degree in mass communications and journalism and media, is because the media always controls the narrative. But the one thing you have to be careful with is that, there is media that's good, that does help you get your word out there. And I feel like there are people in the media, but I think that's all. It's just, with drama it sells, with anything that, like, for example, I've made a few videos where, Stephen A. Smith, where he's been taking shots at Steve Nash about, Steve Nash getting a head coaching job, and and that doesn't happen to black people. That's a narrative that he's pushing. Instead of saying, well, why aren't you mad at Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving for not saying, hey, you didn't want to consider hiring a black coach? Brad Stevens, everyone was like, he got fired into a promotion. Instead of looking at the bigger picture, well, Brad Stevens probably spoke a language that Danny Ainge and ownership understood. And on top of it, who they hired a black coach. But everyone was saying that was white privilege. The point I'm trying to make is that with Naomi Osaka, I think I was watching some on First Take. I'll get to that, but I'm gonna hold that thought. So we're gonna get into this because she's coming back for the Cincy tennis tournament, and this is at the Cincinnati Enquirer. Paul Doherty, basically getting kind of some backlash because according to her agent, she was bullied. And I'm gonna play a clip from First Take, but we're gonna play this clip. Now, real quick, I want you guys to listen to the question and without being biased and having an open mind, just listen to the question. I apologize if the audio is low for her. I don't really understand why it was that low. Now, and you see, like in the then she starts breaking down in tears, and then that really started this whole. Were we able to see that? Hold on. Please tell me you guys were able to see that.
Please state your name and publication and ask a question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's Paul Doherty from the Cincinnati Enquirer. Well, follow up on that last question. You're not crazy about dealing with.
If that didn't play, I apologize,
especially in
ladies and
this
gentlemen.
format. Yet you have a lot of outside interests that are served by having a media platform. I guess my question is, how do you balance the two? And also, do you have anything you'd like to share with us about what you did say to Simone Biles?
When you say I'm not crazy about dealing with you guys, what does that refer to?
Well, you've said you don't especially like the press conference format. And yet that seems to be the obviously the most widely used means of communicating to the media and through the media to the public. Question.
I'm sorry.
I would say.
I'm sorry. I just want to pause real quick. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I had shared my screen to play the clip. I apologize.
That's interesting.
And I apologize if you can't hear her because she's talking really low.
When to do the press conference is what I feel is the most difficult, but sorry, I'm thinking.
I think we can move on to the next question. Naomi, do you want to move on to the next question?
No, I'm actually very interested in that point of view. So if you could repeat that, that'd be awesome.
The question was that you're not especially fond of dealing with the media, especially in this format. You have suggested there are better ways to do it, that we'd like to try to explore that. My question, I guess, was you also have outside interests beyond tennis that are served by having the platform that the media presents to you. My question is, how do you think you might be able to best balance the two?
I mean, for me, I feel like this is something that I can't really speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself, but ever since I was younger, I've had a lot of media interest on me, and I think it's because of my background as well as, how I play. Because in the first place, I'm a tennis player. That's why a lot of people are interested in me. So I would say in that regards, I'm quite different to a lot of people, and I can't really help that there are some things that I tweet or some things that I say that kind of create a lot of news articles or things like that. And I know that it's because I've won a couple Grand Slams and I've gotten to do a lot of press conferences that these things happen. But I would also say, I'm not really sure how to balance the two. I'm figuring it out at the same time as you are, I would say.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. We're going to do 4 more questions, or 4 more journalists. We're going to go Courtney, Jeff, Stuart, and then Ben Rothenberg. So Courtney, please go ahead and state your name and publication, please. Thank you.
Courtney Nguyen, WTA Insider. Hello, Naomi. Hopefully it's okay if I ask a couple of tennis questions.
See, like right there, I'm confused because I'm trying to figure out, and then everybody came out. Her agent came up with this. Stuart DeGaulle, he criticized and labeled him a bully. First and foremost, he started off his statement by saying the bully at the Cincinnati Enquirer is an epitome of why player media relations are so fraught right now. Joey Gar said, per New York Times, Ben Rothenberg, everyone on that Zoom will agree that his tone was all wrong and his sole purpose was to intimidate really appalling behavior. And this insinuation that Naomi owes her off the court success of the media is a myth. Don't be self-indulgent. Now, I'm torn. I'm gonna tell you why I'm torn. Because there was no bullying in that question at all. What he's saying is how you see, because you the question to me, this is why I interpreted it. We understand that you're not fond of being asked questions. We understand that. But don't you think the media has helped you play a role, has played a role into where you are at in your tennis career, your life right now? That's what I think he was trying to say. And how do you balance that? It's not easy to balance it as an athlete. Listen, you look at my intro.
First of all, listen, it's interesting about all these young guys today. They never call on us and say, hey, thanks for the kind word and telling me how great a player I am. But when they play like crap and we call them out, we don't know what we're talking about. Listen, I'm easy to find, but I get sick of these guys complaining. These young guys, they never call us and say, when a coach is wrong, I'm going to call him out. But when players are wrong, I'm going to call them out. But listen, I'm going to criticize guys that they deserve it. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
I mean, my intro right there is basically like, wait a minute. There are good media people that do give Naomi Osaka, Kyrie Irving credit and respect that it's due. My only issue is that where's the bullying? If anything, the agent was wrong. Because first and foremost, his tone sounded fine. I saw nothing wrong with his tone, ladies and gentlemen. Let me ask you a question. If that's bullying, because now we have to see, because now you see how we're putting things in context, and we're not putting it in the right context. So question. So in Barry Trammell, right, Oklahoma City, when Russell Westbrook was with the Thunder, and they were playing, what I can say was against the Rockets. He asked Steve Adams a question. I'm basically paraphrasing. He said, yo, man, when Russ goes off the floor, how come y'all don't play well? You don't play with the same energy. Russ took offense to that. That was the truth. When he goes off the floor, they don't play with the same energy. They end up losing the game by like 20 points. They got swept. Battled the first round 3 times. That's not bullying. That's critiquing. That's criticism. We can critique that. Is that bullying? Now, I want to play a quick clip. Well, first and foremost, I want to start at the beginning because I was watching First Take and Molly Karam said something that that grind my gears the wrong way, because the way let me again, I'm going to preface my comments. I don't have anything personal against Molly, but I feel like Molly puts her 2 cents in at the wrong time. And listen, nothing wrong with giving an opinion, but sometimes it's like, Molly, what are you talking about? So I just want you to listen to this.
That it's the timing, inferring. So a lot to break down there. Stephen A., I'll start with you. Obviously, the reporter inferring that she isn't crazy about the media. She cleared that up. She said that it's the timing that bothers her. It's not the format. And she said she draws massive attention, not just because of her play, but obviously her ethnic background. And we can see right there that she was authentic. She's trying to figure it out. But
I don't think it has to do with
the weight of the world appears to be on her shoulders. What was your reaction to that press conference?
Now let me just skip a little bit, y'all. I don't want to hold y'all up because we're kind of going to 2 hours of the podcast, and I kind of want to wrap it up, but I don't want to go too far into it. So I'm just going to skip a little bit. Excuse me.
Wait a minute, Molly. Let me finish. Let me just finish. She was interested in the question, Stephen A. So John Sawatsky, the old interview guru at ESPN, would have said, if I asked a question like that, he would have told me, you made a couple mistakes here. You baked an assumption into the question, right? You also asked 2 questions, a double-barreled question. You shouldn't do that. But the gist of it, the spirit of it was, hey, I understand you don't really like these kind of press conferences. And he never said, as the agent said, didn't suggest, stated. The agent said that he thinks the media is responsible for her success. Wait a minute, Molly.
See that right there?
Let me finish. Let me just finish the thought. And obviously you feel otherwise. I didn't hear that at all. What he did suggest was the media can be useful to someone who has a platform to amplify their platform to deliver messages that Naomi Osaka seems interested in delivering. She was both emotionally and intellectually engaged by the question. I thought it was a thoughtful question. I thought she gave a thoughtful response, and it struck a nerve with her, I'm sure, because I'm sure it dredged up. Well, every time she tries to do something good, she sends out a social media message or anything. I'm sure she deals with backlash and increased scrutiny, increased pressure. Whatever it was, it dredged up emotion for her. Nothing there was untoward or out of line. The agent's statement calling the reporter a bully frames it in a way that, based on what we saw, simply is not the case.
Well, I would want that agent.
And right there before, because I want you to hear Molly's little smart comment. You see, the agent was wrong to even make that statement of bullying. See, the problem is, that's kind of moving the goalposts a little bit, because what you're saying is, well, her success, the media has nothing to do with that. The media does play a part in it. I've said that there's good media and there's bad media. The media always controls the narrative. However, it's up to Naomi Osaka, a Kyrie Irving, or a Kevin Durant to not let the media dictate you who you are as a person. The media has played a role where it's vilified Kevin Durant. It vilified LeBron James. It's even doing that to Lamar Jackson because they criticize him as a passer. Even, I'm not going to get into that soapbox, but when I look at the question, most of those reporters behind closed doors will say, well, he didn't say anything. You know what they'll say? Well, it was the way the question was asked. So what was I supposed to ask? See, if he said something that was egregious, that's one thing. But if he said, and the other, he's saying, hey, wait a minute. We have played a part into why you're being so successful. You're one of the best tennis players in the game. You know, when Serena Williams calls it a career, the torch is going to be passed to you. And when it comes with the media, there comes an expectation. The media, listen, you're going to get all the praise, all the glory, all the criticism. You're going to get those things. But you have to not let the media dictate you in a way where it's negative. Kyrie Irving, the same thing. I understand. I respect the brother and where his mindset, given to a Pakistani village. Social injustice. The same thing with the WNBA, the NBA, all that. But you cannot let the media dictate what you do. You cannot let it happen, because why? For example, I made a whole video back in June last year after when Jacob Blake got shot 7 times. And the NBA and the WNBA wanted to all out of the blue cancel games. My question was straight up, and still this question to this day, what was the plan? I didn't get an answer for that. What was and the response was, well, a social relations department, a group of guys where we talk about social injustice. In the 144 documentary, go look at my video. I played a clip where Courtney Williams said, wait a minute, where are our priorities at? Basically, she said, I came in the public to get paid. Now all of a sudden, because another person gets shot, let's stop dribbling a basketball, go home and protest? You can't let the media dictate that.
In a foxhole with me. Don't you think, though, gentlemen, there was a bit of an agenda by the reporter? It felt like he was leading the witness to a sense. There wasn't much objectivity. You don't like us, but you need us. And I think that's what the agent was speaking to.
I see. That's why you're objecting to, because he did.
I get what she was trying to say, but I think that's a reach. That's a reach. I think what he was trying to say is, don't you think the media, I think what he was really trying to say is, do you believe the media has played a role into why you are in the position that you are now as a successful Black women, Black, Japanese, African-American mixed with, her father's Haitian, Japanese, and also Japanese, a woman of color. Don't you think the media has played a role in where the position that you're in today?
It's a need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't hear that. Okay.
I didn't get
okay.
yeah.
I got it.
So
Okay,
that's
'cause
where
I didn't hear that.
that's where I feel like there was a bit of an agenda on the reporter's part. It wasn't just an objective question. Why don't you like dealing with the media, but you need us too?
But Molly, wouldn't you say that it's fair to say that that someone who wants to message things does need, even with social media, mainstream media, to amplify the message?
Because there's social media.
You don't think that mainstream media?
I think you can go viral with social media. Look at Stephen A.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't know if we know that's what he was talking about. In other words, what he's saying is that because you have a lot of people, unfortunately, and you know this as well as I do, as well as you do too, Max, there are a lot of people that interpret social media as the media as well. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you use that platform to disseminate a message. So in other words, we don't know, again, I don't know the reporter. I don't know anything about him. Yeah. You know, I was told this morning that he had, some kind of history of being an antagonist. I don't know. I've read a couple of his columns over the years, but I don't know him at all. All I'm talking about is looking at the press conference. I thought the two people that asked her the question were delicate in how they asked it to her.
To her, exactly.
And so when he says bullying, and, I'm saying, wait a minute now. I didn't get that. Now, if she said that, to me, she's entitled to interpret it any way she so chooses.
Exactly.
Because she's the one up there on the podium. She's probably seen these individuals before. And she, obviously, going through all the things that she's going through, she is perfectly entitled to interpret it any way she chooses. But for him to give a statement to the New York Times and accuse the reporters of bullying based on what we heard, only what we heard.
I totally
that
agree.
was my issue. I didn't get that from those two questions, Molly. I'm not saying I know anything about his agenda. I don't know anything about what he's done to them in the past, anything. Just watching that press conference, I didn't
felt
get
like he had
that
a bit of an agenda.
I totally agree.
See, you see what I'm talking about? Like right there, like you feel like, okay, that's your opinion, you're entitled to it. But it kind of disturbs me because, like, Molly, same thing. Like, okay, if you're feeling that strong, okay, same thing. Where are you at with the WNBA and the 144? Where are you at with the All-Star game and other things like that? You feel like there's an agenda there. Okay, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But I think, I just think a lot of it just comes down to where we have become sensitive, in my personal opinion, as a society, where we can't take criticism. Listen, criticism, if I sat there and say, LeBron James, for example, you know what? When I just said it earlier, LeBron James, in my personal opinion, is not a is not the best player in the NBA this right now. That's my opinion. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant are the top two players in the NBA. That's my opinion. Well, LeBron James isn't the same basketball player anymore. That's to me, like, if I'm not going to go into detail with it. He's not washed up, but he's not the top player in the league. There's no agenda behind that. That's a fact. Because if you watch these last few seasons, like I said, it's a different. The torch is being passed. It's a new brand of basketball. But let me get off that and finish this up. I want to get to another video from yesterday.
With your characterization, Stephen A., I totally agree with that. Not only was it not bullying, it went out of its way to be considerate. The question, the way it was phrased, even when the reporter asked, I guess, he's trying to soften everything he says and and I think that's one of the reasons she wanted to engage with the question. Molly, in terms of the agenda, I do think, you may argue that a reporter always has an agenda in a question they ask. They're trying to get information. But I agree with you if you want to say she doesn't need That's right. Because you can get a message out there without mainstream media, but mainstream media will amplify. And so his basic point was, how do you, he's after you, I think it's genuine curiosity, balance the fact that you don't like these kind of press conferences with the idea that it can be useful to you.
Max,
that was the gist of it.
Max, let me give Molly the last word by saying this to you, Molly. And I asked this to you as a question. Yeah, we all sit here on this show. We've all been in the business quite a long time, and we ask questions.
Yeah.
You're the moderator of this show.
Yep.
You ask questions all the time, you know, and you've been doing it for years. Right here, you were at the NFL Network before this. You've asked questions for many, many years.
Yeah.
Just based on those two questions. Nothing else. No background information, no anything. Just watching it, because that's me. Because, again, I don't know who was asking the questions, and I don't know any history. Just based on those two questions. Did you peel bullying?
Now, what I want you to hear, now his question was straight up. Did you get bullying from the question? Listen to this answer.
From that?
I think if I was there, I would have said, how are you handling your media responsibilities? It would have been more objective. That's where I think it was more of an agenda where he was looking.
You said she kind of ran away from the question.
To elicit a certain response. I don't think I would characterize it as bullying, but I also don't think it was objective journalism either. So that's how I would explain it if I'm answering your question there, Stephen A. I do want to point out one other thing.
That really wasn't answering the question. So now the biggest thing is now we got to have a define of what's journalism and then what's bullying. Because if that's the case, well, hell, then a lot of these questions, when these guys write these columns and stuff like that, is that not, like, for example, where I'll give you an example. When Jim Palmer, because he does commentary for the Baltimore Orioles, Chris Davis was, for a hot minute, hot trash, where the point was he didn't even change his approach at the plate. It was not that great. And Jim Palmer called it out, and it was like, wow, like, do you even really care? Like, you're not having a great year. And Chris Davis took offense to that. But that's criticism. Hey, change your approach at the plate. You were at one time one of the best feared hitters, most feared hitters in the game. What's the problem? Now, to yesterday, because it's now 1:00 in the morning. This is gonna wrap this up. This was her in another press conference, and and to me, this shed a light more, I think, of what she was trying. I think what was trying to say, but couldn't get it out.
About this since the last time I sat here, I was wondering why was I so affected, I guess? Like, what made me not want to do media in the first place? And then I was thinking, I'm wondering if I was scared because, sometimes I would see headlines of, players losing, and then the headline the next day would be, a collapse, or, they're not that great anymore. So then I was thinking, me waking up every day, for me, I should feel like I'm winning, Like, the choice to go out there and play, to go see fans, that people come out and watch me play, that itself is an accomplishment. And I'm not sure when along the way I started desensitizing that. It started not being an accomplishment for me. So I felt like I was very ungrateful on that fact. And then, I don't know, I think definitely this whole COVID thing was really stressful with the bubbles and not seeing people and not having the interactions. But I think I guess seeing the state of the world, how everything is in Haiti, how everything is in Afghanistan right now is definitely really crazy. And for me to just be hitting a tennis ball in the United States right now and have people come and watch me play is, I don't know. I would want to be myself in this situation rather than anyone else in the world.
And right there, it really gave me a different perspective of not only really just myself, but life, because she's going to be 23, and she's 4 years. I'm a few years old, I'm 3.5 years older than her, and it's so amazing to really see how she's able to be so thoughtful and empathetic of what goes around her. You can tell. I listen. She's one of those. She pays attention to detail. She's saying, well, when she said it, she goes in the headlines. Oh, a collapse. They're not the same team anymore. That's what I think I think that's why it makes her the way, in my personal opinion, the way because she's afraid to see in the headlines. Not afraid, but she takes that personal. If she goes, because I think she played when she lost to Martika. I cannot pronounce it. It was during the Tokyo Olympics. Okay, people are going to go to town with that. Like, for example, right? When the Lakers lost to the Suns, I guarantee the headlines were, oh, wow, Lakers swept. Can this team go to the finals? The media dictates the narrative. But if you look at the facts, yes, LeBron wasn't healthy. AD couldn't stay healthy. Dennis Schroeder, who was inconsistent. Kyle Kuzma was inconsistent. Washington was in the same breath. Like the first month or half of the year, from what they were supposed to be on paper, were not the same team. But I think the biggest thing for me is you can never let the media dictate your future. I mean, dictate you as a person. Whether it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or a regular 9-to-5 person. It doesn't matter. Because think about it, I think she has family. I think because her father is from Haiti. Think about how that's kind of traumatizing for her. She's thinking about that. What's going on in Afghanistan. Just all across the world. We're dealing with this pandemic. That can wear on a person, because we have to subject to that every day on the media. We got to be subjected to that. But again, we can never let the media dictate us as a general public. Cannot let that happen. Because the biggest thing, in my personal opinion, particularly when it comes to these athletes, yes, athletes are going to get all the praise and all the glory. They're going to get criticized. You're going to have that. And unfortunately, that's just the way it works. When you're a star, it happens. But in this retrospect, I think for her, she takes that personal. And that's okay. But channel that energy. But I feel like that energy should be channeled to where you prove your critics wrong. Because everyone's going to have critics. I'm going to have critics. Naomi Osaka is going to have critics. Kyrie Irving is going to have critics. Listen, I was critical of Kyrie Irving a few times because I'm saying, yo, man, where's your priorities at? From talking about, I never agreed to have Steve Nash as a head coach and for the Brooklyn Nets. Or let's not go down to the bubble. Let's create our own basketball league. But I see where his heart's in the right place. And I respect it. It's just the way you present your message to the media. Because why? Because when you present your message the wrong way, the media goes to town with it. It's fact. Just look what you're seeing on the media right now. Don't take my word for it. Because the narrative, because the media loves to spin the narrative. And Naomi Osaka, for what it's worth, really gave thoughtful insight. Because again, can you really be mad at what she was trying to say? No. But I think for those who think that reporter was bullying her, no. That's where you and I can be diverse and think. We can agree and disagree. I disagreed. I didn't see any bullying in that. I didn't. But I wanted to play that one clip because like Molly Karam can be very interesting. I mean, she's entitled to her opinion, her beliefs, but I think when she puts her 2 cents in my opinion, it's not at the right time. It's kind of like, really, Molly? But with that being said, I've now talked your ears off for 2 hours and 21 minutes. That's going to end the podcast. That's going to end episode 11. I'll have that uploaded tomorrow. Episode 12 will go live Saturday. So I'm going to cover the Washington football game, Baltimore game against the Panthers. I'm going to break down the Mystics versus the Phoenix Mercury. And there's going to be some other topics that I will cover in episode 12. So be tuned in for that. But with that being said, y'all have a good night. I'm out. Peace. Stay up, y'all.
First of all, listen, it's interesting about all these young guys today. They never call on us and say, hey, thanks for the kind word and telling me how great a player I am. But when they play like crap and we call them out, we don't know what we're talking about. Listen, I'm easy to find, but I get sick of these guys complaining. These young guys, they never call us and say, when a coach is wrong, I'm going to call him out. But when players are wrong, I'm going to call them out. But listen, I'm going to criticize guys that they deserve it. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.